I earned my degree online at Arizona State University. I chose to get my degree at ASU because I knew that I'd get a quality education, they were recognized for excellence, and that I would be prepared for the workforce upon graduating. To be associated with ASU, both as a student and alum, it makes me extremely proud, and having experienced the program, I know now that I'm set up for success. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. Consult a doctor prior to use.
You look amazing. What have you been doing?
You've heard of Ozempic, Wegovy, and other GLP-1 medications, right? Well, if you qualify, Zelty providers can prescribe semaglutide, the same active ingredient, at up to 90% less without insurance. Done all online.
No wait at the doctor's office or pharmacy?
No wait. Zelty can ship the same active ingredients as other expensive GLP-1s to your door.
Get started with Zelty today for just $39. Call pound 250 and say keyword care. That's the same active ingredients in Wegovy or Ozempic, but for 80 to 90% less. That's pound 250 keyword care.
If you love entertainment, current events, and Hollywood, don't miss Creator to Creators, hosted by the filmmaker Meosha, known for the Shudder hit documentary Horror Noir and the acclaimed film Anatomy of an Anti-Hero, Redemption. This show features interviews with filmmakers and creatives from around the globe. Join the fun with guest celebrities and gain valuable insights. Subscribe now and follow Creator to Creators.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Creators to Creators today. Today we have a special guest.
RJ Stewart.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Same, thank you for being on. Gosh, your resume is impeccable. It's pretty impressive. I always like going, I really love going back to the beginning. I always say the beginning kind of charts our trajectory, like our little habits that we pick up when we're children kind of somehow follow us as into our adulthood. So tell me a little bit about your childhood. What was that like, and how did you kind of find your way into the entertainment world?
My dad was a career Air Force guy, so we traveled a lot, and that'll work into the story. But he wasn't a pilot; he was a sergeant. He worked mostly in base supply, but he was a master storyteller. And he used to sit by he knew I was obsessed when I was a kid. I was obsessed with the Disney characters and the Peanuts cartoon, Charlie Brown, Schroeder, those guys. He would sit next to my bed and tell me stories he'd make up about these characters. So, and he loved doing it. One time he was on a tour of duty and he sent me a long letter. I still have the letter of a Goofy came into the room and there was Mickey and stuff. And so the idea of storytelling was introduced to me very early on. And the kind of writing I do, that's what it is. It's storytelling. Of course, you have to develop characters and timing and screenwriting brings one aspect of it, and writing a novel is another. But it's about telling a good story. And so I had that very early on. And then when I started writing, I actually found some of my really early writing, and it was what you'd expect, childlike and boring and predictable, but it did show my ambition in that way. And then when I was about 12, I had a teacher named Mr. Sayuda. I'm going to give him credit for this because he said, write a story, a creative story, and I'll give you extra credit for it. And I was at that time intoxicated with the novels of Alistair MacLean, who was famous action adventure novelist at the time. Several of his books were turned into movies: Guns of Navarone, Ice Station Zebra. So I wrote it in that style, and he, about 4 pages. It was, and he gave it. I remember that there was a lot of news about Lawrence of Arabia is going to come out. This was a pre-movie come out. So I made the main character an Arab, even though I knew nothing about Arabs or anything like that, except what I saw in movies. And he said, that was good. Every week after that, I wrote a story and gave it to him. And he'd come up to me and say, I'm not giving you extra credit for these stories that you turn in every week. And I said, that's okay. I just want to do it. And he was a good sport. He mostly read them. Like I said, they're very short. And I'm sure everyone had the manly man character and hero saving the damsel and stuff. And
Right.
At that time, though, that was my first. This is not about me so much as about a creative stimulus I had. The movie Guns of Navarone came out. Oh, I didn't mention we were stationed. My dad was stationed in Heraklion, Crete, Greece. So we were in Greece when a movie came out called the Guns of Navarone by Alistair MacLean, the one I just referred to. And one of the characters in there was the great Greek actress Irene Pappas playing a badass, very empowered woman. And I was already madly in love with her because her poster was on every bus stop and every bus store. And so that began my love of writing and being attracted to empowered women in novels and drama.
And I love that you are attracted to powerful women. I think a lot of times you don't really see that nowadays. Like, I mean, I think it's beautiful to have a male writer who uplifts a female character, because we don't really see, too many. I mean, a lot of times in cinema, you see like the woman submissive wife. She's, playing the woman role. Like, it's great and all, but it's really cool to see like a powerful, like strong woman kicking butt and doing stuff and looking good doing it,
Hey, I've been fortunate enough in
appreciate
my
it.
career to get that opportunity a lot, because the first job I ever had was on Remington Steele. I was the cubby writer on that show. It was my first job. And
Nice.
I don't know if you recall the premise of the series, but it was Laura Holt is a crack private detective, but she's because of the prejudice against hiring a woman private detective, she wants to hire an empty suit to be the front for the agency. So she hires a guy named she might have even made up the name Remington Steele, but of course the person they cast was Pierce Brosnan. Now,
Yeah.
because Pierce was such a big hit, I mean, huge. Matter of fact, when I first came on the job, they asked me what I thought of the show. And I said, oh, great, wonderful. Of course, I'm going to praise the show. And they said, to be honest, tell us what you really think. And at the time, I was young and stupid, and I believed they wanted the honesty. And I said, well, it's fabulous. And I love Stephanie Zimbalist as Laura Holt and stuff. But, you got to write more for that Pierce Brosnan guy. He's great, which doesn't make me a genius. It was just the reaction the whole world had when the show aired a few weeks later. And so, as far as Stephanie was a wonderful actress and a very, very sweet, loving person. But unfortunately, the show moved a little away from that original premise, and they became more equal. So it became a little bit more like what Moonlighting would become. And not coincidental, Glenn Caron, who created Moonlighting, is the guy who hired me on Remington Steele.
Oh, wow. Very cool. Very cool. Would you say that, like, was there, like, all through your life, was it like those moments of like things just came to you because you like just trust the process of just the journey?
Yeah, there is. It's a combination of when people have mixed views about Hollywood. Some people, some people don't like Hollywood, and that sort of thing. One thing I'll say, and absolutely true of Hollywood, that everyone has to understand: people work hard in Hollywood.
Yes.
And my advice to any young person trying to.
Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. Consult a doctor prior to use.
You look great. What have you been doing?
I found Zelthy. If you qualify, their providers can prescribe the same active ingredients in Ozempic and other expensive GLP-1s for 80 to 90% less without insurance. All of mine shipped right to your door.
Get started with Zelthy today for just $39. Call pound 250 and say keyword CARE. That's CARE to pound 250.
Lowe's knows how to help you save this 4th of July. Upgrade your laundry routine with the new and exclusive first-of-its-kind all-in-one vented laundry combo. Wash and dry in just 68 minutes. Save up to 40% on select major appliances. Plus, when you buy more, you save more. Shop Samsung this July 4th at Lowe's. Valid through 7/9. See Lowe's.com for details. Savings vary based on purchase amount. Selection varies by location. Lowe's knows how to set off your July 4th with savings. Right now, buy one, get one free on select one-coat coverage interior paint via Visa gift card rebate. Plus, get 2 select 2 or 2.5 quart red, white, and blue annuals for just $10. Hurry, these July 4th deals won't last long. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 7/9. Selection varies by location. While supplies last, excludes Alaska and Hawaii. More terms and restrictions apply. See Lowe's.com/rebates for more details.
Again, just work so hard, and then just try to discipline yourself so that when an opportunity comes up, you're ready for it. And that's the key, is hardworking. And then you need some luck. You really do. You need some luck.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. That the luck thing is a thing. It's like, it's interesting. It's like, I think that obviously everyone can't, quote unquote, make it. But like you said, it's the hard work. And I think if you love what you do and you kind of continue to be curious and work hard, I think things just open up to you. Yeah, I absolutely believe that you can do anything really if you really enjoy it. So I think it's like knowing what you, and I don't think there's like one way particularly. I think there's like many ways to go about, the career. But yeah, it's amazing how, your life just unfolded. It seemed like it was a very easy process. Did you have like any uncertainty along the journey?
Not once I started working.
Yeah.
Okay, this is my thing, because what else am I going to do?
Right.
You hear that a lot in different interviews, but I think but you put a lot of creative Hollywood people together, they'd all come to that eventually. Like, what else were we going to do? It's kind of a scary thing. Now, I'm sure there are people that go on and do fine things. I mean, it's not
for sure.
You don't just give up if you don't make it. And it's a very difficult world to break into. So, I mean, someone shouldn't be discouraged in all of life because they don't make it in Hollywood. But I think once you start working in Hollywood, you realize this is where I belong, so in that way, we didn't get to Xena as far as the Formidable Women.
Yeah, that.
I developed and wrote and produced Xena. That was kind of luck, luck that they found me, luck for them and for me. I really was thinking in a total different direction at the time. And when my agent on the phone pitched the idea to me, and I said,
you're like, I don't know.
And then I saw Lucy in the part, because Lucy had been a villain on Hercules.
Mm-hmm.
I saw her in the part, in other words, Xena, the character Xena was introduced into Hercules, and I thought, ooh, that's cool. That's
yeah.
And that's why I committed to writing the pilot. And that, but I mean, those kind of things, if you would have told me that year, what is your next job, I would have. I had just come off of a show that didn't succeed, which, most shows don't. So I had been supervising producer on a show called The Great Pretender, which was with the great actor Michael. The Great Defender. I meant to say The Great Defender. It was a pun on, a play on The Great Pretender, and it was Michael Rispoli, a wonderful actor, was the lead. And it was about lawyers and stuff. Because it had a sort of lightness to it, and I thought I wrote well for that show, and I thinking that's probably where I'm going next. But in a wonderful way, it came full circle. Back in my Alistair McLean days, I was writing action, and now I'm back writing action and adventure, and it felt really good.
Yeah,
and
felt
so
great,
there's a lot to that too. The matching up the actor to the material, the writer to the material. There's another thing of luck, because maybe if I went off to write because I had some connections with the people who eventually made West Wing. Theoretically, I could have ended up there, but maybe I wouldn't have thrived there. Maybe I wouldn't have done as well there. And but I was the right guy for Xena.
No, I mean, amazing show. I mean, classic. It's like it's his like it goes down in history as one of the best action adventures, shows of all time. Like I remember watching it growing up, like, and I was like, wow, what a powerful woman. And it just made me believe that, it was awesome to see a woman doing all these things and look great doing it. And it's just it goes to show you, like, it's like we can do and have these kind of roles in the business. So thank you for wanting to make something that important.
Yeah,
And
everybody thinks a little bit about their legacy and stuff, and I think us people that were involved with Xena, the one thing we get a little frustrated now is people don't realize how innovative it was at the time in the 90s. We were giving credit where it's due. We were simultaneous with Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Nice.
We were both on at the same time, so they had two kick-ass women on it simultaneously. So it wasn't just us, but it was. We went in a direction that Buffy didn't, as far as violence and her
Yes.
embracing the whole ethical conundrum of when you use violence and when you don't, and that was the contrast between her and Gabrielle, her sidekick was, Gabrielle was less prone to violence, and Xena felt she needed to protect Gabrielle in some ways. Although by the end of the series, Gabrielle had evolved into her own formidable. So the tension, I just stumbled on this myself thinking about it. I love writing for already empowered women, so
Yes.
rather than the wonderful movies, I love the movies where a woman doesn't feel empowered and then we watch her become empowered. Those important thing, but I enjoy writing for the already empowered woman. But we had both on Xena. We had the empowered woman and we had the arc of the woman who becomes empowered, Gabrielle.
Right. Yeah. And it's beautiful. How was it like working with her?
With Lucy,
Yes.
terrific. She's just a wonderful actress and a wonderful person. I talked to her last August, and boy, she looked great. She looks, it was like this. It wasn't Zoom. I think it was the other version of it. But it was just wonderful talking to her. She's still as funny and as kind and loving as she always was. And so she lives in New Zealand, so I don't see her very often.
Oh, I see. New Zealand. I love New Zealand. So let's talk about your new thriller. I'm excited for this post-apocalyptic thriller. So what made you go in this direction and why now?
Well, it's the name of the book is Crazy Hawk. You're right, it's a post-apocalyptic thriller. When I was a long time ago, I read a book called Canticle for Leibowitz, which is about a post-apocalyptic world. In that world, it's deep future, thousands of years in the future, and it's after a nuclear war, and everything is destroyed. And so it's very different from my book. But why do I bring it up? Is that one thing that fascinated me about it is that at a certain point, some of the characters discover a fallout shelter that is pretty much intact. And the people in Canticle of Leibowitz try to figure out what the world was before the war from the evidence they find in that fallout shelter. And that fascinated me. So I wanted to take a shot at creating my own world, my own post-apocalyptic world. And the main character is Deirdre, and she's a very formidable, empowered woman. And when we meet her, she's on the trail of the men who kidnapped her sister, which is bad news for those men because she's a very serious, deadly, relentless warrior. And the world she travels in is the ruined world that you and I live in. So she's investigating what our world is as she moves and as she pursues the villains. And so she's trying to formulate an idea of what the world was in our day. And that's what was fun about that thing. And she's not always right, because she can't quite figure out what the cloud was. They stored information in the cloud. I'm not sure if was in the sky? Was it a real cloud? So she's trying to piece together our world. So it's a fun challenge. You get to create your own new world, but you get to comment on our world at the same time.
I love that. I love that. How long did it take to create this artwork that you
Um,
made?
Well, it's impossible to tell that story without bringing up some very sad things. We lost our
Oh
daughter to
no.
cancer
Oh
in the
my
midst of it, so
God. I'm
that
so sorry.
appreciate it. Thank you. And
Oh
so
God.
I conceived it originally in Japan in 2013. We were traveling, just doing tourists in Japan, and my horse had lost the vision in his right eye. I'm a big
Oh.
horse rider, and the one of the main characters in the book is Danny, who is based very much on my horse. And I just thought of the opening line was her horse had one eye, and that is the opening line of the book. And I started working on that. I probably had a zero draft by the end of 2014, and that's when Lori got the diagnosis, stage 4 cancer, and then so it took a while to get back to it. That's
I see.
what I'm saying. So how long? I would say the first thing of creating that zero draft. When I say zero draft, it's just rough draft. It needs a lot of editing, and wouldn't even call it a first draft. And that took that was 2013 and some of 2014. And then when I came back to it after Lori passed in 2018, started working on 2019. And then when COVID hit, I said, okay, when people ask, what did you do during COVID? I finished this novel. That's what I'm going to say.
Awesome. Yeah.
Then I wanted to self-publish because when you're a screenwriter, what the goal of a screenwriter is to hand it off to other people and let them make a wonderful movie, or maybe not make a wonderful movie. And but what I wanted to self-publish because I get to control it all. This is my work, and I'm very proud of it, and people seem to like it.
I love that. Well, congrats on that. And I love that it's something about having when it's yours, right? It's like it feels like it's like, wow, I did that. It's all me. It's like something about it. It's a great feeling.
That's it's I've got a couple of nice print reviews from Kirkus and Forward Clarion, and it's very, very nice feeling, and nice customer reviews and stuff. It's very nice to see that, and
that's beautiful.
And but go ahead.
No, you please.
No, I was going to say that now being the old writer talking to younger writers, revision. That's even more true when it's all yours. It's actually kind of a little easier when somebody's giving you notes. But if you have to be your own self-critic, revise every time you read through it, that sentence doesn't quite work. And this paragraph was too long, break up a paragraph. So I actually got excellent advice from a copy editor I hired to break up my paragraphs more.
Nice.
I had longer paragraphs, and it is interesting. I didn't even notice it at the time, but now that I'm after getting that note and doing that with my novel, I read popular novels, and it's short. We're living the era of short paragraphs, which I guess matches our ability to concentrate on anything. But
so true. It's so true. It's so funny. My friend and I, we wrote actually just recently she's a filmmaker actress, I'm a filmmaker actress, and we're like, let's create something, that's kind of based on like our lives a little bit, and also a little bit of like, we watched a little bit of The Matrix, and we were very inspired with the whole like waking up and what is the real world, what's being sleep, all that thing. And so we did like it's like I think 11 pages. It's a short film, and we're gonna shoot it, and super ambitious, but we have some creative friends that we're gonna go and shoot it in like a weekend, and just so it's something about just creating, and I love creating with people. And it's
that
definitely
sounds wonderful. That sounds wonderful. I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun. It's really fun. I'm excited. We're gonna really got some really cool creative people and nice cams and drones and do the whole thing. So we're very excited to just make something. I think that's what I like about now. It's like you can get up and create anything, on a phone, put anything out these days.
Yeah, I mean, when I learned what self-publishing was, because I didn't even, because back in the day, self-publishing was, a guy drives up to the book fair with a bunch of books in his trunk and stuff. And then when I realized there was this whole world of self-publishing and Amazon, KDP, and all these different,
Yeah.
I got very excited. Like, wow, I could write a novel and do that. So,
So
yeah,
much
so
easier,
and it's
right?
all very current, very modern, and what you're doing with your podcast is, when did you decide to do that? When did you decide to start?
Um, Actually during COVID, actually.
Okay, yeah, a lot of us got
I
ideas.
yeah, I was I was talking to like during COVID, I was talking to my plant and then I was like, I have to not do this. This is not healthy. I got to figure out something. I got to talk to real people. So I called a friend who he's a radio host and I asked for advice, like, what do you talk about? And he said, just anything that you enjoy talking about. And so I was like, well, I'm a filmmaker. Um, I do enjoy talking to creatives just about the journey, how they did it, their mistakes and where they see themselves later in life, whatever. And so that's how it kind of started. So I've had this show now for 4 years. So it's doing really well. I've had some amazing guests as yourself. So I'm just
Thank you.
honored
Well, I can tell you're
talk
really
to you.
natural. You're really good at it. Very
Thank you.
relaxed. You keep it
Thank
going.
you so
Very, very
much.
skilled.
My mom says I talk too much. So I'm like, well, I use it for
Well, be a talk show host.
right. I have a really fun question, and there's no wrong answer, but the three levels of influence: money, power, and respect. And if you could choose only one of those things, which one would you choose and why?
Well, that's a great one. I want to be intellectually honest here. I'd say I'd order them. Give them to me again. What are the three?
Money, power, or respect?
I'd go respect, money, power.
Nice.
But I mean, that's not putting down power. I mean, but I had a pretty successful career, and there's only a couple of times I felt real powerful. That was when I was showrunners and show and stuff that you do. That's power because you so much depending on you. So people give you a lot of responsibility, which is terrifying sometimes. So I don't. The power is a mixed bag too. Of course, it comes with that, thing. The money, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna lie, money's nice. There were certainly times in my career I made choices based on money. I was no doubt of that. And it put me in a position to retire fairly young. I retired in my mid-50s, which not everybody gets to
Wow.
do. And I bought a horse ranch and I ride horses, and it was riding horses that inspired Crazy Hulk. Writing that novel, is
Nice.
thinking on horseback about what I would like to do in the valley I live in and how I'd like to describe it and fictionalize it slightly. And so money came in handy, but respect, yeah, you want to be respected I think you hear a lot of people said, I want to be respected by my peers. Well, of course I want to be respected by my peers, but I think I want respect from the outside, the audience, the people who consume my product, my art. And so that's actually maybe a little more important to me than being respected by my peers, because after a certain point, now I want to say one thing that was not included in that list is your own spiritual inner core life, because that's very important.
Yes, very.
A quote I have in the book that is from the French moralist epigrammist Chamfort is, if I can get it right, happiness is very difficult to find in ourselves and impossible to find it anywhere else. And
I like that.
Yeah, it's always been meaning. Well, I read it about 30 years ago, and it's been very meaningful to me. So your spiritual and interior castle. The Catholic saint Teresa of Avila calls it an interior castle, which is wonderful imagery. And I'm not Catholic, but I just love that imagery. And building up a spiritual resilience, fortifying yourself, your interior life is maybe even I would put that number one, then respect.
Yes.
And because what if you do everything right, but you don't get the respect? Is a life
Yeah,
leading failure? You got to have something inside. So you're not at
that
the,
piece.
the famous Shakespeare line, slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. We don't want to be at the mercy of those. We want to have something in us that, look, catastrophes. I mean, losing our daughter, was a catastrophe. And there's no, you can't have a formidable enough castle to not be blown away by that, be destroyed by that. But when you rebuild yourself, it's nice to know that you have something in there as you go on from there.
I love that. Oh, thank you for that. That's really great advice. I was literally going into my question of like, that was literally the next question is like, what advice would you give to those out there that, that are trying to get into the business, don't really quite know how to do it?
Yeah, I talked about hard work. Let's talk about writing in particular. I used to be an actor
Yes.
too back in the day. I never worked in Hollywood, but I worked in plays and stuff. So I have some advice there, but mostly my advice that would be valuable would be as a writer. And I'd say write things that you understand. And the cliche from way back when I was first starting out was write what you know. Well, if you write, and the first screenplay that broke me into the business that people read was about me. It was about a guy driving a truck around LA. I was a Teamster for 9 years. So it was very much about my life. So that is some good advice. But of course, not everybody wants to write things about their personal things. You want to have, because your imagination is part of you too. But
Yes.
for instance, Crazy Hawk, I imagined all this future, so I don't know what the future is going to be. So I can't say I wrote what I know, but it's also about horseback riding, and I got into shooting black powder guns. You actually shove the black powder in and stuff, and so that's something I put in the book. That this society has lost the technology that we have with weaponry, so they had to make their own black powder and stuff. So I'm writing things I know combined with my imagination. So I would say when you're first starting out, try to write what you know. Now, maybe if you're a nerd and you only read science fiction novels, well, at least you know science fiction novels. So then,
right.
So at least use that. Life experience helps. Boy, life experience helps. And I don't mean you have to join the French Foreign Legion and stuff like I did in the old days. I mean that you need to. I think you need to interact a lot with the world. And it doesn't have to be risky, although taking a few risks doesn't hurt. And so building up experiences so though you can that didn't work. The notification.
Yeah, same for me.
What you do for what life experience does for you, and like I'm saying, I'm not saying about extreme life experience or you have to go out in and put yourself at risk or something, but just talk to a lot of people and stuff. What it gives you is something to call on when you need it. Because your creativity, you're constantly looking, what's the next scene about? Because that blank page, whether it's novels or screenplays, that can be terrifying. And you go back to a memory you got or experience you got, and you can use that. So, and then the other part of that of writing what you know about is also about writing a lot. Keep producing calling card scripts that you can show to people. And I told you the book the script that Glenn Caron read that enabled him to hire me on Remington Steele was about a guy who drives around in Los Angeles and delivers packages. That's what I was doing. And so they hired me right out of the truck, so to speak. And that's not a safe. I don't want to say safe. It's your real life experience is something you should tap into. It's yours. You own that. You own your life experience. So use it. And but your imagination is part of you too. So I'm not saying it has to be about truck drivers. It could be about I could have written about a guy who drives a spaceship and makes deliveries to different space stations. That would have been a way to use my experience and my imagination. So anyway, that would So write a lot of calling card scripts and just be ready for the opportunity. And that's
Right.
and how do you get ready for it? You be ready to commit to work. We're back to how people in Hollywood work.
Yeah, I love that. That's such great advice. I have a question, and there's, I love asking this because I find this is one of my favorite questions to ask on the show. But once your life is over and you get to the pearly gates of heaven and you meet God, what would you want God to say about you and all the work that you've done?
Wow, that's a good one. I would like him to say, because I know he's not going to say, "You're a great guy." I'm too flawed to do that. He's going to
Right.
say, I'd love him to say, "You tried very hard to be a good person." And I, being the creator, I'm talking about God. God would say, "Since I created you, I know you're flawed and you're sinful and stuff. So I'm going to let you pass on that. But you tried really hard." And so that's what I would like to hear that, and in that, including in my career too. You tried really hard, and that's I think we all have to keep trying. Don't ever give up.
Love
Yeah,
that.
so it was
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on. It's
thank
30
you.
minutes goes by so fast.
Yeah,
Oh, this
I
was lovely.
appreciate.
So refreshing.
Yes, and I had a great time, and good luck with what you're doing. I think you're great at it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Your mouth to God's ears.
Please,
Right. Well, have a wonderful day and please come back anytime. And
thank you.
thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.